In car audio, we typically think about two different areas, one being the sound pressure level / demo systems and the sound quality systems. But aren't we forgetting about somebody? You know, the people that can't afford to have these tens of $1,000 systems that we see here with all these large subwoofers, large amplifiers, dozens of batteries. That's right, there's your average person who all they want is just a little bit of extra bump. Even back in the 90s, companies like Sparkomatic and Pyramid had these add-on subwoofer systems such as this bass cannon. These were inexpensive at under $100, also had the amplifier built in as well as a subwoofer, and were easy to install. Now the true car audio enthusiast would write these off as junk, saying save up your money and buy something better. But again, some people just wanted a simple way to add bass to their factory system. Now let's jump forward 30 years to 2024, and we have systems like this Rockville bass tube. This is the RTB 80A 8-inch 400 watt powered subwoofer bass tube for $89. Now according to two people, this reminds me of a 20-year-old Optimus bass tube, and this other guy says this is no good. Well, we had to get one in, and I bought this off Amazon, so let's get it out of the box and see what it's all about. First, we'll see the owner's manual. There are 4 different models of the Rockville bass tubes, 6.5, 8, 10, and 12-inch models, and they all have different amplifiers on them as well. But overall, we decided to go with the 8 because it's under $100, and it kind of matches up to that Sparkomatic sub I showed in the beginning. If you want to see that one, make sure you watch the video I have on the Old School Stereo channel. Here we have some inputs for high level. That's actually inputs and outputs if you want to hook it up directly to your factory system. We have some straps. That's right, you can strap down your bass tube, and you need to because this thing's going to roll around otherwise. And there's a couple different mounts here that the straps go through, and the screws are included as well. Now, some watching this may be new to car audio may not realize the stench of a prefab speaker box. That's right, just warning you, this thing smells like death. And once we let it air out for a few days, we'll show it here what it looks like, and it's really just a cylinder. Has a Rockville logo there on the carpeted enclosure, and there's a subwoofer on this end with the metal grill to protect it, which is really nice. And as far as dimensions go, it's 8.75 inches for the diameter and about 18 inches for the length. On the opposite end of the bass tube, opposite of the speaker, we have a slot port at the top, and then we have the amplifier plate module here at the bottom, which has several different things we'll go over, include the power, ground, and remote terminals for hooking up the amp. Also, we have a crossover switch for full bass and also low pass filter, which adjusts the frequency. We have the high level input and output. That's for your speaker level if you're using this with a factory system. Also has RCA inputs for an aftermarket head unit. And you can also hook it up straight from your phone or from your MP3 player. And then we have the gain / volume control, so you can crank up the bass. And again, we have the 8-inch model, and of course the plate amplifier here screams 400 watts, as well as the box. It tells you this is a 400 watt system. Now, according to the specs, 400 watts is peak, 200 watts is RMS. Or is it 250 watts RMS? I'm not sure, Rockville. Let me know.
This is not a Mickey Mouse program.
All right, so we have the Rockville 8-inch bass tube subwoofer in the back here of the 37 Ford, and we're going to try some songs here and see how it sounds. So overall here for 90 bucks, I mean, it definitely added some bass to the setup, did not rattle the rear view mirror or anything like that. But I gotta say, I was actually pretty impressed at the bass output for $90 total system setup here. Now, of course, you will have to add an amplifier wiring kit, but we'll talk about why that's not going to be a very expensive one here when we get to the part where we test the amplifier in this video. Speaking of amplifier, let's go ahead and pull the plate amp out. Then we'll flip it over and actually pry out the grill, which is really just glued on and has 4 screws that are holding the woofer driver in. So we'll take this out so we can take a look at the whole setup. We did have to use a screwdriver to pry this out too because it is kind of glued in with silicone. And here are all the different components of the Rockville bass tube, the amplifier, the speaker driver, the box. And speaking of the speaker driver, 3.6 ohm is what we measured. So that means we're going to test the amplifier module at 4 ohms to find out what kind of power it puts out using the SMD Demore Engineering Amplifier Dyno. If you haven't seen these tests before, on the left is the power output. The middle is the ohm load, which will be 4 ohms for this test. And on the right will be the voltage of the dyno. We'll also calculate the amplifier's efficiency.
You know how them sound waves go?
Now, as for rated power, Rockville claims 400 watts max, either 200 watts or 250 RMS, depending on where you read. So let's try it here certified on the dyno. This takes us up to 1% distortion, and we get 74 watts. Nowhere near that 200 or 250 that they say that it's rated.
They're just plain out lying to you.
So let's try the different test here, which is the uncertified test, which takes us up to the clipping point of the amplifier. Find out if it does any better. And yeah, we're still not 80 watts. 79 watts at 14.36 volts. Next up, we will do the dynamic test, which sends a pulse track of 40 hertz into the amplifier to find out if it'll have any dynamic capability. And as you can see, not much here. 81 watts, 14.36 volts. So nowhere near the 200 watts they claim. Now here are all the results as well as the efficiencies. You can see here uses a Class AB amp, so efficiencies are not great. But again, the good thing is I did the test in the car before I did this to know how much power it put out, and I was kind of impressed with it, so it doesn't really matter, especially for 90 bucks. Here's a woofer driver. You can see the vented pole piece. You see the foam surround, also the Kevlar reinforced cone. And again, we measured 3.6 ohms, single voice coil for the subwoofer, and approximately 38 ounce magnet. Now, those who've seen my videos before may recognize this amplifier module. I did. It looks very similar to one I've tested before. But let's take a closer look at this one first, and we'll do the comparison. Here is the internals or the guts of the system, and we'll see the capacitors here. 220 microfarad, 35 volt odd caps, generic capacitors, of course. And we'll do the small flyover here. You can see the transformer there in the back. You can see some resistors and some other goodies. Now on the back of the amp here, the heatsink, you can see a couple of transistors. Now, we did show an amp before called Amazon's cheapest subwoofer amplifier, which was only $17 at the time, and it looks virtually identical to this amplifier. But from what we found out, looking at the internals also and doing the test, the Rockville one's actually about 20 watts more powerful. So this one is definitely not the same module, but it looks like it's built off the same kind of design of the heatsink and everything like that. Real quick, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you go to Wilson Audio Labs on YouTube, click subscribe and choose all for notifications, and smash me a thumbs up if you like this video. I greatly appreciate you guys watching and doing that. Now let's move on to the pros and cons, the things I like, the things I think that could be better. First up, the good stuff. That's right, inexpensive all-in-one solution, which put out decent bass output. I was kind of shocked, honestly. It's easily removable if you need to take it out of your car. Has simple connections, whether it's RCA or speaker level. Minimal electrical requirements, only pulls about 10 amps, and has a durable construction. Things that could be better, it is lacking the power output that it's rated. There's no remote bass level, that's a huge one for me. It needs to have the straps and mounted definitely, or otherwise it's just going to roll around your car. It's kind of large. You do have to buy a wiring kit, and there's no fuse on the amplifier module. So I must say, for the intended audience of this system, they kind of killed it. I mean, for under 90 bucks, you're getting a pretty decent little added bass to your factory system, and you may become a bass head one day because you love the sound. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Till next time, Big D, I'm out of here. I kind of teased you guys at the beginning with some footage from the Sundown audio show, August 17th, 2024. Got some extra footage here. If you'd like to watch it, check it out.